All right, we've been talking about compare and contrast as just comparing and contrasting two things, simple, and then comparing and contrasting something that is in more depth in a text. And now we're going to be talking about compare and contrast text structure. Now, someone can actually write in a compare and contrast text structure, which means the entire text is about how two or more things are similar and different, just like what we read yesterday on the two cities. So a compare and contrast text explains how two or more things are alike and different. And we already talked about how comparing means the same and contrasting means different. So we don't need to take notes on that. We also know that we could use a Venn diagram to see how things are different, contrast, and how things are the same. And we've been doing that throughout the week. Here are some clue words or keywords that tell us it is a compare and contrast text structure, such as like or unlike. So if I see these words, it most likely will tell me that this is a compare and contrast text structure. We have similar to, different from, both, as well as, neither, or likewise, in comparison, in contrast, and however. Obviously there are more key words, but these are ones that I like to look for and see the most often. So if I see these, I know that something is being compared and contrasted. So if I look through the entire text and that's all they talk about, it is a compare and contrast text structure. So some questions to ask while you're reading. Could be, what two things are being compared? In our story yesterday, it was the two cities, Beijing and Minneapolis. How are they like? In what ways are they different? And then a final question is, why did the author choose to compare and contrast those things? So these are all questions that I can ask myself and try to find the answer to in order to understand the text better. Now, if I ask myself this question based on what we read yesterday, They were comparing and contrasting the two cities to show how pollution is similar and different, how it's a problem in one city and how it's not a problem in another. So I'm going to have you pause this, finish taking the notes, and then I have something that is attached to this assignment that I'm going to have you cut out, print out, cut out, and glue in. And then we're going to be practicing doing just that with this passage. All right, so now we're going to compare and contrast. Now, obviously, since it says compare and contrast here, and we know it's already a text structure of compare and contrast, I don't want you to say just because I read it. I want you to tell me why they say this is a compare and contrast text structure. So I'm going to read it with you. And then in the assignment, you are going to answer the following question. How do you know this text is written using a compare and contrast text structure? We are looking at key words on the bottom. Key words or clue words. Okay, how did I know? What are they comparing and contrasting here? What is being compared and contrasted? That's how you know, because this and this are being compared and contrasted. But I want you to read it. So we are going to read this together. Okay, let's read it to understand. And then you are going to reread it to find the answer to the questions. So this is our first time that we are reading it. Brown and black bears are both found in the wilds of North America. Both are also potentially dangerous and should be treated with caution. These bears look similar in some ways, but they have some notable differences. You can use these differences to alert park rangers to a bear's presence with as much helpful information as possible. First off, they are both big, but brown bears are much bigger. Male brown bears average about 600 to 700 pounds, while male black bears are usually only about 200 to 300 pounds. Both bears have incredibly sharp claws, but these also have some notable differences. A black bear's claws are about 2 inches long and very curved. A brown bear's claws can be up to 4 inches and are straighter. The bears' profiles also help tell them apart. Brown bears have large humps behind their heads, and they have short, rounded ears. Black bears, on the other hand, have no shoulder humps, and their ears are taller and more oblong. So if I didn't know what that word meant, I would highlight that. The word oblong means more like an oval. Use these tips to help you tell these bears apart, since just going by color can be misleading. However, remember that both kinds of bears are dangerous and unpredictable, and you should always keep your distance. So now you're going to reread this passage, which is attached, answer these questions, and then I'm going to also add an additional question that says, how are brown and black bears different and similar?